fun. So the test is, like, who would you rather believe? A guy in a suit who looks like a salesman, or a guy with a beard and a white lab coat in the lab? So if you don't believe me, at least you can believe my evil twin brother, right? All right, so let's talk then about, that was a demonstration of the test that we did in our lab to show that the Ecosphere water purifier does work. When we used E. coli, a safe strain, but it's the same size as all the other bad strains, right? We were able to show that it did a 6 log reduction in bacteria. And we actually then sent that to sent our water purifier to an outside accrediting lab who did the same test, the same rigorous standard, and showed, again, confirmed a 6 log reduction in the bacteria. So what does that mean? Here's the challenge test that we did that I showed you in the lab, right? All right. So if we're talking about a 6 log reduction, again, what does that mean? Remember, each log is a 10-fold reduction. So a 1 log reduction, let's say you start, just theoretically, there are 1 million bacteria in your cup that you want to drink, right? Okay, I don't want to drink that because there's 1 million bacteria. So if I have a 90% reduction or a 1 log reduction, that's going to leave 100,000 behind. Are you going to drink that water? That's 1 log. It's better than 1 million. But I still don't want to take my chances, right? Especially if it's one of those nasty E. coli's. So, okay, a 2 log reduction. Now we're talking 99% reduction. 99 sounds like a lot, right? And if you start with 1 million, it kind of is a lot. If you've got a 99% reduction, there are only 10,000 bacteria left. Only 10,000 of those nasty little enteropathogenic E. coli's. Are you going to take your chances on 10,000? It's better than 1 million, but maybe not quite where we want to be, right? So let's keep going down the logs because, where were we able to reduce to? Well, 6 logs is 99.9999%. And now you're talking from a theoretical 1 million down to just 1, right? That's really a nice gold standard of where we'd like to be. And that's what we were able to show with our own tests and with the external third-party tests on our filter. So that's where we want to be. It actually works, right? That's exactly what we want. All right, so here's kind of a list then of what we're removing and what we're not. We're not removing dissolved salts, okay? Now, a reverse osmosis system actually does remove the dissolved salts. Dissolved salts are good, excuse me, because they actually help the water to taste good, right? And they're good for you. But it does remove all of these other things, right? The endotoxins, the bacteria, the virus, the cysts, and all of these other things. Down here at the bottom, do you remember what that is? VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So those are the things that sort of make it taste bad, smell bad. Now, that pond that I drank out of in southern Utah desert smelled pretty bad water. But by the time it went through that carbon, it actually tasted pretty good. That's one thing that the carbon block is very good at, is reducing those odors, right? So all of these things. And that's about where we are. So in summary then, I hope that I've convinced you that we've done a good job here, that we found a niche. Even though this was an area where, lots of people make water filters, we found that there's something that Nu Skin can do that will fill a gap that we found in this technology. So you remember the 3 areas? If you're going to talk to your friends about it, the first area is the user experience. We found that the stuff that we were ordering was kind of confusing, difficult to assemble. The filters were difficult to change, right? So the user experience wasn't great. And we really feel like with this i4 ultra pure technology, we're able to do that, fix that problem. The next was the beauty, right? The aesthetics. You want something in your kitchen that you're proud of. And we were able to accomplish that with not only the sleek design of the water filter with a small footprint, but that beautiful diverter, which you won't find very many places, if at all. right? So that beauty, and then the technology. What we thought was actually a difficult hurdle to pass because so many of these technologies are already available. Why not just choose all of the best technologies and materials that we could find and include those in this water filter that solves the beauty and the user experience? So we feel proud of what we've accomplished, and we sure hope that today you've learned to appreciate that as well. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Dr. Bartlett, for a very presentation. So the floor is now open for question and answer. Do you have questions about Ecosphere?
Hi, Dr. Mark.
Hi.
Yeah. The output of this Ecosphere is dependent on the input. I mean, what quality of water can this?
Okay, that's a really good question. Thank you for that question. So the question again, I'll clarify, is the output dependent upon the input? So I think what is implicit in that question is, okay, if you've got really nasty stuff going in, then will you have sort of slightly less nasty stuff coming out? If it's clean going in, it's going to be even better coming out. Actually, it's pretty much, if the water going in it is really bad, it doesn't matter. It's still going to give you drinkable water coming out the other side. I think my example of the southern Utah desert was an example of that. It wasn't a very good filter, but it did the job, right? So what you will find is if the water going in is bad, then the filter won't last as long. But it's still going to be clean coming out the other end. You can trust it. You can trust it so that you don't have to boil what's coming out the other end anymore. If it goes through this filter, you can drink it safely. It's that trustworthy, right? So let's think of a situation where you've got a lot of sediment and stuff. You know, that's not something that you really want to put into this filter, but it will filter it. That pre-filter will capture the sand and the sediment. It's just that it won't last as long, but the product coming out the other end will be clean. So, you know, I know that the situation with some people is, and in some markets they have water that is so silty that comes into the house, they actually have an external filter. Remember, this is a final filter situation. So you're not going to be able to sort of continue to pour really sandy water into it and expect it to last very long, right? So maybe you need a pre-filter if that's the situation where you live. When it comes to bacteria and viruses and things like that, again, I'm confident that whether you've got 10 million or a million, whatever the starting is, you're going to get very good, clean, drinkable water out the other side. So, thanks. Good question.
5,200 liters is based on what kind of?
Okay. It's the 5,200 liters, what is that based on? It's based on the average water that comes in from a municipal water supply, right? So, you know, if you are, again, in the Utah desert, constantly filtering the green water with the dead frogs in it, maybe it's not going to last as long as 5,000 liters, right? So it's really based on the typical average. What were you saying?
The municipal tap.
Yeah, municipal tap water. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, pleasure.
Next question. How long does it take to filter the water from the faucet down to the
Great. Good question.
Or water there, or just carry it and then just go down?
Yeah, so the question is, you know, how long will it take to filter the water? How long does it take to sort of fill up the glass, right? Is that what you meant?
From the faucet to the system and then down.
Yeah, so once it's primed, right, then you've got water that's already in the system, and new water that you turn on when you turn on the faucet is going to push the cleaned water out. So you don't have to wait for it every time to prime, right? Once you
Priming takes around.
so when it's brand new, right, you're going to put in the filter, quarter turn, very easy, turn on the tap, and hit the button that says filter the water, please, right? And then the first thing that you need to do with this filter is run it for 2 to 5 minutes. So you're going to run it through the carbon filter and just make sure that the water that's coming out is filled up all the little nooks and crannies of the filter, that there's no more bubbles and things coming through. And the initial water is clean, but it might taste a little funny for the first couple of minutes. So that's why we run it through for 2 to 5 minutes. That's very typical of a water filter. Once you've done that, excuse me, then every time you turn on the tap and hit the little diverter, Water's going to come straight out of the filter. And then what's the rate like? It's going to be quite good. You don't have to wait a long time, like, oh, gee. It's filtering the water, so it's just kind of dripping in slowly. It actually fills not maybe as fast as a normal tap that's on full blast, but certainly you're not going to have to wait a long time to fill your glass and drink it. It's quite good. I don't know, anyone here experienced the water filter at all? It's not something that you lose patience with. It comes out quite fast. Yeah.
Dependent on the pressure.
Yeah, it will depend to a certain extent on the pressure that's coming out of your faucet, right? So, yeah. Thank you for that question. Good questions.
Yes. What is the number of burning hours for the UV light?
I don't know the answer to that very technical question. Burning hours. I'm sorry. I thought you had. I'm sorry. Okay, I think I know the answer to that question. I thought she was using some like engineering term. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so the basically, how long does that last? As I mentioned, it's a cold cathode tube, and so these are renowned for lasting almost indefinitely, like thousands and thousands of hours. So you can change the filter many times before you ever have to worry about the UV lamp dying. Yeah. In fact, theoretically, it never needs replacing.
Is it? Sometimes I carry the Ecosphere with me when I travel.
We have an experienced Ecosphere user here. That's great. Plug it into your hotel or wherever you go, huh?
So is it safe to bring it around? I mean, if in the airport, in the plane, it's lying down.
I think that's fine because it's a sealed cartridge, right? That sealed unit in there just makes it so easy.
So I think there's no water inside because it passed through there.
Right, yep. Yeah, so it's just going to, when you get to the new place, you run the water through again and it's fine. With if perhaps it had granulated carbon instead of a carbon block, maybe you'd sort of say, oh, what happened, did I disturb the layers? But with this, no, it's going to be fine. Good job. I'm glad to hear you're carrying it around with you. We need to do a portable version, don't we? One with a little pump on it. Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Second to the last question.
What does our Ecosphere pH produce?
pH level.
Good, thank you. Okay, so it should be the same pH as goes in. There's nothing about this filter that would change the pH of the water. So water mostly is just around pH 7. So the water that goes in will just come out at about the same pH. Yeah. So you won't see any change there. Yeah.
Because you mentioned a while ago that alkaline water is highly marketed, right? So
right.
Why did we choose pH instead of alkaline if it's make no difference? Is it acid or is it pH is better than alkaline? That's the reason Ecosphere is producing pH water.
Okay. So basically, nearly every source of water that you find is going to be neutral pH, right? It's already neutral pH. So, unless someone has messed with it by putting in acid or base, it's just going to be neutral pH everywhere you go. Whether it's your swimming pool or the ocean, it's pH 7. And so, again, there's nothing that the filter will do to manipulate that or change that. It's just going to come out at the same pH. And even if it did go up or down a little bit, or if the water going in was a little low or high, again, as I mentioned, it's not really going to make any difference to your biological system. It might just taste different. So, yeah. All right, I think we're ready for the final question.
The first time you tested, the battery's balance was 9, so it's alkaline.
Really?
Here in the Philippines.
Interesting. Coming out of the tap, it's 9?
From the plain water.
Interesting. Huh.
From the Ecosphere, it's 9.
Okay. That's interesting. That's kind of quirky and strange, but are you using paper? Like paper pH litmus paper? Huh. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to try that myself in the lab. Yeah, okay.
Alkaline water.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting. Okay. But as we all know, it doesn't make a lot of difference, right?
It's alkaline, but it tastes better than the one produced by Canada.
That's good to know. I'm going to have to bring you around with me on this tour. Yeah. That's great. Thanks, good. We have a super user of the water filter. That's great. You hear that? She said she cannot drink water from anywhere else. She's so used to our Ecosphere water. So, well, once again, thanks everyone. It's really fun to have you here, and good luck. Drink healthy.
So once again, thank you, Dr. Mark, for the great presentation about Ecosphere and the latest video about the E. coli, how it can reduce up to 6 log bacteria. So are we ready to drink healthy? Yes! So you want more about Ecosphere? So since we're all ready to drink healthy, we're now offering 10% off of Ecosphere starting tonight until October 27th. So that comes in the cartridge. Then you have to use a promo code WaterRaveLink, and then here's the original price, 32,000, promo price at 28,000.